Well, we're back already.
Can you believe it?
We usually don't put out videos this soon after we put one out just a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
But it felt like we had something more to expand on that is current in our thinking right now. And I think it's very relevant to what's going on in the world right now. And it may not seem so, but I really think it is. We think it is. And we thought we'd like to share it with you again.
Yep. So, like he was just saying, there are some thoughts and themes that will carry through from the video we just did that we think will be pertinent. And it's a topic I always found disturbing because I tended to be lazy.
Yeah.
And it's about, well, I'll let you open it up because this is kind of on a line.
Yeah.
Really,
Yeah.
he was thinking of something, and so I'll let you kind of
Okay. All right.
present it.
Well, one of the things that he and I do now, we meditate daily, like twice a day,
Yeah,
in a specific meditation.
we're not bragging.
No, we're not bragging. It'd be bragging if we said we were doing it 10 times a day. There is another time which I tend to meditate.
Not on the toilet.
Not on the toilet. But although I have had some good thoughts there.
I bet you have too, if you're honest.
But sometimes when I'm taking a shower, I have some amazing insights sometimes when I'm showering. I don't know why. Maybe it's the movement of the water and the negative ions from the movement of the water. Something helps kind of stimulate it in the water, like the water of truth. The water of truth is pouring over your body or flowing over your body. I don't know.
Well,
anyway,
you got the ions from the water.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you've probably had the same thing, taking a bath.
Yeah, right. People do that when,
Yeah.
taking a bath. A lot of you ladies know about that.
Yeah, and probably just very relaxed. You know, I'd love to have a place where I had a tub where it was big enough to get in it and just totally just soak in it for a while. But anyway, I digress. Yesterday, he and I were at the store, the grocery store, going to buy some supplies and some food. I was at the dried fruit area, and I was ready to get some dried fruit, and I looked up and, hey, if it wasn't somebody that I knew from way back, and we have a lot of similar history together, and in conversation, it became very plain to me and very evident that this shared history that we have had strongly conditioned our consciousness, our shared consciousness, about how we have approached living in the world, or how we live in the world, how we are in the world. Now that's a pretty broad topic in itself right there. How are we in the world? I mean, that's huge because, I mean, you've got so many different backgrounds. People have so many different backgrounds and histories and ethnic backgrounds and cultural backgrounds, and all of those things tend to condition how we are in the world. And some of those backgrounds are pleasant, some of them are not, as we've already discussed it previously. Some of them have been educationally based. Actually, a lot of it's educationally based because it
almost all of it.
Because it conditions our consciousness of how we are in the world. We tend to learn from our parents, from our teachers, from our ministers or priests or politicians or the news people.
Or the culture that you're in, or like there tend to be micro cultures that we all take part in.
Yeah. So our previous video, we were speaking about how the three-dimensional world is pretty much all that's emphasized here. And how we are conditioned, how we are taught to function in the 3D world, or how to function in what we call reality or life. This is what it's about, and this is how you do it. And it varies from culture to culture, but underlying that are some pretty common themes. And one of them is, for instance, you go to school and you have a teacher or a professor or whatever, and they stand in front of you and they tell you what's what and how things are. And they tell you what history is, the history of the planet. Or this is the local news. We're going to tell you what's going on and how the world actually is. And so people sit back. We're all conditioned into this. You sit back and you turn on the boob tube. Now, that's a description that goes back to our era. I don't know what they call it now.
Well, it still applies.
Still applies. And by the way, I'd say it's not just the boob tube. It wouldn't be just the TV. The new boob tubes are iPhones, laptops, computers, all of that. Click on it, watch it, go, oh, that's what's happening.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, right. Facebook, right? Or Twitter.
Yeah. Yeah. So we tend to take that stuff at face value. Now, there's a right place for an educational system, and one of them fundamentally it would be your parents. Rightly would be your parents, where they would rightly teach you some basic, fundamental, true ways of being in the world or how to live. Unfortunately, a lot of that teaching is conditioned and layered with all kinds of other stuff. Beliefs, not knowing, but beliefs, cultural norms, this is good, that's bad. And so we have all this shame and all this fear and all this stuff that goes into the subconscious. And those things condition us. Those things teach us how we're supposed to be in the world. So obviously it's a convoluted mess.
Completely.
It's a completely convoluted mess. Do you have anything you want to say?
Well, no, you're saying exactly what we were talking about earlier, and you're doing great with it. The topic that we want to open up here is about how we think.
Yeah.
And do we really think for ourselves?
Right. Right.
That's really where we're headed with this. So
Right.
I think probably I'll just go ahead and just continue to do what you're
All
doing
right.
there. We'll fill it
All right.
in, but that's really where we're headed here. And let's plant the seed that it's about thinking for yourself, and do you really do that?
Yeah, in our last video, you said something about, do you think you're a free agent, or do you think for yourself?
Well, I was something kind of like that, which was, do you really think that all your motivations are really yours?
Right. Yeah.
And is it really, or do you really do what you really want to do?
Right.
Or is a whole lot of what you do based on what you've just been
Conditioning.
talking about, conditioning?
Yeah.
And to a huge extent, it's all really focused into externals.
Yeah.
Trying to behave the right way based on social mores and your current culture and how your group think is, your clan, or your microculture, or those kinds of things. So
so that group think thing happens. So you have group think in a family, right? So when you're in a family, the family has a group think, and this is what we do. This is what we don't do, and anything outside of that is bad. So, and some of that actually, if the parents are actually representations of truth and not just strictly beliefs and wounding, their own personal wounding, and their social norms and their upbringing and what their parents told them was good and bad and that kind of thing. But if they can actually represent something of truth, then what the parents have to offer can be good. At some point, you leave the family and you go into the world, and you have to venture out, and you go out to the best of your ability based upon what you've been given or what you've been taught.
And hopefully what you've been taught in your family situation has been healthy, for one thing. And
Yeah.
most people don't have that, I don't think.
No.
And if your upbringing was like my brothers and mine,
Horrific.
yeah, there was like We weren't taught how to think.
No.
You know, it was all, well, we don't need to go into that right now, but I've seen it. Well, it happened for me. It happened for you too, and for our sister. You rebel at a certain point because you don't like the family tank. Right. You start to think, I don't like the way you're doing that. I don't want to be that way. I'm going to be different and unique.
Yeah. I'm going to be unique, and I'll never be like them. And I'm going to be out, and I'm going to be a free agent, and I'm going to bring something new in the world. So we leave our families, and maybe we go off to college or whatever. We get out into the world, and we start kind of collecting friends, and we collect friends on what basis? What was the movie?
Who's in it?
What's the one?
Help us think about that. Oh, you can't do that. Okay.
The Seattle one.
Oh, you mean the Tom Hanks one?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sleepless in Seattle.
Sleepless in Seattle.
There's this one point.
Well, it takes old people sometimes a long time to remember.
No, it's ascension symptoms.
It's ascensions.
So, in Sleepless in Seattle, there's this one scene where Meg Ryan is talking to this guy. I can't remember his name, the actor.
Oh, yeah.
It's supposed to be his brother in the movie. And if you've seen this, I'll be reminding you of it. And they're talking about relationships. And he says to her something about that marriage is usually two neuroses finding each other and thinking that that's the basis for love. And then they get married. Two neuroses. So anyway.
And that's really accurate.
Yeah. So I digress. So anyway, we go out into the world and we tend to kind of search out or seek out the people we kind of resonate with, right? I resonate with them, so they're my friends. And it's like, well, what's the real basis here of this relationship? Is it based in something true, or is it based in our particular unique little cultural upbringings?
Yeah, well, because what you resonate with might be the thing that you don't talk about with your clan or your group or your microculture or your whatever you want to call it. You don't talk about the bad stuff that happened in your life, right? Nobody does, because we're afraid and ashamed to reveal the ugly things that have happened to us. So then we're all about putting on this facade,
pretending
of what we want to be like in the world.
Yeah.
And so, like what you're talking about, what we do is, probably to a great extent, we want to make sure whoever we find in the world to be our people, our clan, or our whatever you want to call it, fit your neuroses to some extent. But you don't talk about it.
No.
Nobody talks about this.
No.
And you want to make sure that who you were with, you all kind of, those kinds of things work together.
Yeah, and so you're functioning on the basis of this surface veneer, and it's like, this is who we are, and this is how we dress, and this is how we think, and so there's groupthink. So groupthink is understandable. I understand why it happens. There's the desire, a deep desire in people to want to belong, to want to feel loved, to be accepted. So there's that desire. So we get in the world, and maybe some of us, like I said, maybe go to college, or maybe we go to a tech school or whatever. We start learning other things. We want to learn something other than what our parents taught us, right?
We're going to do it all different.
All different. And so we're open-minded, we think, and we're totally open-minded about learning something new and experiencing something new, and I'm going to grow beyond this pathetic little thing that I knew with my family. And so we step into some new circumstance. Maybe it's in college, and you take courses. You take all these different courses, and here are these amazing professors up front shedding light on what's what and how things really are, and here's the true history, and here's how the universe works, and it's like, wow, now I really know. And then you think, eventually you go, wow, they don't even know. And so you want to grow beyond that, and so you take on a new pattern of teaching from somebody else outside of yourself. And so it's either collective groupthink, and in a collection of people, there's usually somebody or somebody's in that group that kind of conditions and kind of calls the shots about what the group's about, and this is what we think, and this is how we dress, and we either go along with it, or we have to find another group to be a part of. Right. So we kind of accept something outside of ourselves as being the control factor.
Because we want to belong.
Right.
Don't step out of line.
Right.
It's important because, you're looking for something that will accept your neuroses, accept your injuries, your wounds, and things that have happened to you.
They love me.
They love me just the way I am, right? Yeah.
Of course I love them. They accept me as I am. And you feel this sense of...
But they love you just as you are, as long as you don't start to open up the can of worms of what, the ugly part of your life, right? You don't talk about that. You start opening that up. It's like, whoa.
You need to be in some other group.
We know another group you should belong to. Not this one.
Not this one.
We don't talk about that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So groups are based upon groupthink. So that's where this is really going.
It's about thinking.
It's about thinking. And groupthink can be small little cliques.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, no, that's it. No, never mind. We're going good.
Okay. All right. So groupthink can be family groupthink. It can be husband-wife groupthink. It could be boyfriend-girlfriend groupthink. Significant other groupthink. It could be a little bit larger cliquish groupthink. Or it could be a community groupthink. I really resonate with that town. There's something about that. It's so beautiful here. And what is it about that? There tends to be this overall atmosphere to a place to which we tend to feel resonant. So we gravitate to those places. What's it really based upon? It's based upon a whole conglomeration of wounding and fears and shames and wanting to belongs and feel a part of.
Yeah.
And so all of those factors go into it. So behind it all, you have to really ask yourself, what does a person really truly long for? Really? Beyond all of those conditions, beyond all of those shadows, beyond all of those wounds and fears and shames, beyond all of that, the real person who's present probably wouldn't even be in those circumstances if they were truly empowered and they actually faced all the stuff that's been controlling their lives. They'd be horrified of what they've done. And I'm one who can say I've been horrified for some of the things I've done in my life. I'm not talking about mass murder or something, or
it's not
pedophilia or some weird stuff.
Really off the wall.
I'm talking about, based upon my upbringing and the way I grew up and what was going on societally, I was gravitating for some reason, and you were too, to the spiritual thing. All right, so we're going to be unique and we're going to change the world. We're going to change the world. So you've got the guru syndrome, right? You've got the guru syndrome. And at the center of the spiritual community is somebody who knows and you don't, right?
Yeah.
So in order to know, you have to turn over your power to the person who knows. Because if you don't really want to wake up. Right? You're not serious about being spiritual. You've got to turn your life over, your thinking over to somebody else.
That's right.
So most spiritual organizations do that. Some don't. Some say, empower yourself, take responsibility. But that doesn't mean that everybody who was a part of that organization took responsibility.
Like for me, what I was bringing up, I've tended to be lazy. And that laziness was born out of, I think, for me, out of the wounding and all of that. I wanted to find a place where I felt secure, accepted, loved, for just the way I was.
Yeah.
And so to do that, I would surrender my thinking to have that experience of being what I thought was, or you could think would be being accepted and loved and all of that. And then you feel like, hey, I belong.
Yeah.
I feel okay now, but I'm still not thinking for myself.
Right. And because shame and fear of not being loved or fear of not being accepted, those things keep you trapped in a certain level of function in a group like that. So that then you start How do I need to change my behavior so that I continue to be loved and accepted in a group? Now that's in a spiritual group or even in other types of groups. Two people. How do I change my behavior to still be loved by that other person, or loved by the group, or loved by the person who's kind of running the thing? Whether it's a company, it could be a company, it could be school, it could be your teacher, it could be your dorm room, it could be your neighborhood or your church. Whatever it is,
your motorcycle club,
your
hot rod club, your cars, or talking about guy stuff here. I mean, I'm not sure what clubs women are a part of now, but whatever. Same thing applies to you too.
Yeah. So there's that longing to want to belong, and so even though the leader that was a part of the organization, spiritual organization that we were a part, never wanted people to hand over their control.
No.
He even said so.
Yep.
Over and over and over. And the leader before him even said, honest skepticism, not just once,
all the time.
Think for yourself, in other words.
Yep.
Take personal responsibility was necessary. But there are people who still play a part in those organizations, the followers, if you will. If you never move to the point of taking personal responsibility for real, then you're always letting somebody else, whether it's that spiritual focus point, if they're real, they'll never do this.
Right.
But you have the attitude of letting them think for you.
You will tend to, if you don't, or haven't learned how to think for yourself, you will externalize that control point for you. Like it'll be like you've been talking about. It will be, if you're in a relationship, you will always have. If you're not a thinker, if you're not empowered, you will always look to the other person to kind of give you the cues as to how you're supposed to be. If it's in a club, like you said, there's always somebody who's calling the shots. If it's in school, it's going to be the professor. And probably if you don't think for yourself, I bet you don't challenge people ever. You probably never really call a spade and say, I disagree, because the need for acceptance for non-thinkers is huge.
Yep. And so
and the non-thinking really is born out of fear and shame, based out of your wounds of not thinking much of yourself and thinking you're not really worthwhile.
Right. So what happens is that you're absolutely totally disempowered. So if you never actually get to the point of getting honest with yourself about what's going on, it's not about demanding that somebody out here change their behavior so that it works for you, because that's still the disempowered. And that's what's going on in the world right now. Everybody's pointing the finger at everybody else, telling everybody, you need to change, you need to stop that. It's like, what am I doing? And until a person gets to the point where they're totally honest with themselves about what's really going on, you will be disempowered in your life and always looking to something outside yourself to make you feel okay. And if you found a sense of security and meaning in being the little worshiper type person or the follower, you will in your life keep looking for somebody to follow and make your world make sense for you. So you never graduated into the state of being an empowered, self-thinking, self-motivated individual who's not controlled by fear, because you're not worried if people like you or don't like you.
And the other thing that will happen for a person who doesn't think for themselves, they will always have a trail behind them, or if you want to put it that way, of being betrayed, being manipulated, being wounded by people. People don't treat them properly, and you'll always have somebody to blame. You'll tend to be somebody who will always look back and blame your life situation for other people, blame it on other people, rather than the fact that I never took responsibility to think for myself about a situation I was in.
Right. Yeah. And so I found myself in a situation a number of years back, 5-6 years ago, where more than that, what was it?
2012?
2008.
Oh, 2000.
Or
right.
even before 2008,
Yeah.
where I got back into something and I wasn't being honest with myself still. And I still had that pattern of externalizing, making somebody else the authority. Somebody else knows.
Yep.
And so I was disempowered. And then I found myself in that situation, ultimately getting to the point of like, wait a minute, this situation's messed up. And the first tendency is to blame them. It's your fault. You're doing it. And so the blame game. But then it finally got to the point where both of us, because we were both in this situation, finally said, wait a minute. I've got to get honest here. And that's where we went into this 2.5-year program of doing some deep internal personal work and got to the point of being honest and finally said, see you guys.
Yeah, when that happened and you start to realize how to take back your power.
Yeah.
You don't have to try to make your life change. You will change your life. You will make changes. Now, then it can be very challenging from there on out because you might find that you won't have the number of friends that you used to have because they never really were friends anyway.
No.
They were just neuroses partners, or people who like to get together and we all kind of agreed on our illnesses and tried to form something and we thought we called it friendship, but it really wasn't. And so it will require your life change. It will change. It will dramatically change, and you might find that you won't have as many friends.
You won't have as many friends, and then in that process, you'll have to face the insecurities. Another word for insecurity is fear.
Yep.
Worry is another word for fear. Anxiety, another word for fear.
Yeah.
So you'll have to start facing those things in your experience that are challenging you as to your sense of identity, as to who you are. This process of awakening, of leaving your family or leaving the group and going into the world to find yourself, it's quite a process. And it takes years, but it takes honesty. So the point of this conversation is to say that whether it was through some spiritual organization or whether it was a teacher in school or whether it was your parents or whether it was a priest or whether it's a politician
or head of a business
or even somebody you know at work who you think's the expert or something.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I have a feeling you're probably filling in the blanks for yourselves if you're really interested in
I want to fill in all the blanks for you. Yeah.
No. So
I want to be the answer man for your world.
Right. So you can think about what we're saying, whether you agree with it or not. If you disagree, I'd say there's a good chance that you're probably being dishonest with yourself about it, because this is something that people don't want to look at.
Yeah. We're not here to tell you what to do either.
For God's sake, no. So this person that we met the other day, it's really triggered some really good reflection.
It was troubling.
It was troubling to see.
It was very troubling emotionally for me, what it felt like.
Because where it went for this person was they still look outside themselves for the experts.
To tell them
for the
what's
knowers,
going on.
For the knowers, the experts, for somebody else to inform them as to what's true and what isn't.
Yeah.
And that just indicates an unwillingness
to grow up,
to grow and to actually start thinking for themselves about the situation. And I don't. Am I going ahead of you?
No, it's fine.
It's like
fine.
This will step on toes probably, but the media right now, the mass main media, or the mainstream, they call it mainstream. I think it's just it's really sickness that's going on in the media right now.
Deliberate manipulation.
Yeah, it's manipulation. It's been headed this way for quite some time, and it is all propaganda. And you called it the boob tube. And it really is, because if we turn on the tube like boobs and expect what the talking heads to tell us what the truth is,
right,
we're going to have a rude awakening, and the rude awakening is coming, and it's beginning to emerge right now.
Yeah.
They're not telling us the truth, and if we're putting our faith in them to tell us the truth, That's dangerous.
Very dangerous, because you're giving your power away. You're sitting down, you plop yourself down in front of the TV or the computer or your iPhone or whatever, your iPad, and you plop down, turn it on, tell me what's real, tell me what's going on in the world. Man, that's dangerous, because you're telling somebody else that you don't really know.
And you don't want to think for yourself.
Yeah, you're asking that person whom you don't really know, think for me. Tell me what's going on.
We hand our lives over to this dynamic, and that's incredibly stupid
and dangerous.
It's what it is. It's stupid and dangerous to do that.
Yeah.
But see, people want to be.
They want to belong.
They want to be informed, right?
Yep.
We want to make the right choices. We want to know what the truth is.
Well, I don't know.
No, well, yeah, but there's some of that too. People don't want to know. Yeah, I mean, it depends on how much your neuroses are still in control of your life. You know, because if they are, then you're not going to really want to know the truth.
You just want to belong.
You just want to belong. So there is a certain percentage of the people that are asleep and don't want to wake up, and they want to stay asleep. And so there's a whole mixture. And if you're any of the people if you're listening to this, there aren't very many of you, because a lot of people don't like to hear what we talk about, because it's
not magical.
It's not magical. It's not like super, like we're going to float out of reality into the
next realms and the next dimensions where we're going to all have extrasensory perception and we're going to levitate.
Oh, we're all going to be clairvoyant and have ESP and do all this amazing stuff.
Well, maybe that's down the road, but you can't get to that without going through what we're talking about.
They're prerequisites.
They're prerequisites. You can't jump over what has to be transitioned through right now, and it's not going to be fun for a lot of people, and we've handed our lives over to other people outside ourselves. It's very disempowering and dangerous to the person who hands their life over to somebody else, because they're in charge of your life. They're telling you what to think. They're telling you who to hate and who to love, what's true and what's not, and you don't even know who they are. But for some reason, we find ourselves just trusting the media, just blanketly trusting them, that they're telling you the truth, that they have your best interest at heart. And I'm going to tell you this, they don't.
And they're lying to you. They have another agenda, and that is to manipulate you, to live your life the way they want you to live your life. If they tell you who to hate over and over and over, and then you believe it, and you think they're telling you the truth, then you go throughout your life, your day after day after day, creating your own life the way they are telling you to live your life. How does that feel? Do you really like that idea? I don't like it, and I'm not going to do it, and I don't think you should either.
No. You know, the other thing that I'd like to underscore here is that I mentioned spiritual matters, and I know it's popular amongst a lot of people to think of themselves as spiritual, and I would like to put out a challenge. I'd like to draw a line in the sand here with people who call themselves spiritual but hate Donald Trump, because being truly spiritual is about love.
Yes, sure is.
It's love and forgiveness. And you can say, oh, he deserves to be hated. He's so bad. I'm going to burn him down. It's like, wait a minute. Isn't that hate?
Yep.
So if I recall correctly, I think that one of the greatest spiritual teachers who ever walked on this planet was Jesus, or Yeshua. He said, love your enemies.
He didn't say
do good to them. He didn't say hate them, curse them, try to kill them, try to destroy them. He said, no, love your enemies. And you know why? Because at the heart of it, there's one being. And that one being is differentiated in you and me and you, and every person who's on this planet is actually a differentiation of the one being of love. And when we hate another, we're hating God.
We're hating ourselves.
We're hating ourselves, and we're hating God. And by the way, who experiences the hate when you express it? You do.
Yeah. What's that saying? Like, you want to, by thinking you're going to hurt somebody else by drinking the poison yourself. That's what it is when you decide you want to burn somebody down, or destroy somebody, or wish they were dead, or somebody needs to kill somebody, or Trump needs to be assassinated, or any of that kind of nonsense. You're actually saying that about yourself, because we're all, like you're saying, we're one family. And maybe some of us have life processes to go through for clarification and transmutation. None of us are perfect. But for God's sake, let's be about love and forgiveness, because that's really what it's all about.
And if you follow the mainstream media right now, they're all about hating Donald Trump. And it's because they have an agenda. They want to take him down because he's actually, believe it or not, bringing the light. He's actually ushering in a return of the light. And this is the Great Awakening. And there are a lot of people who are going to like it, and there are a lot of people who aren't going to like it. And so you have to choose, just like in the video, the one we posted previous. We have to choose. There's a roll call. And by the way, we said R-O-L-E.
Maybe it's
R-O-L-L, roll call or roll, whatever. Anyway, you have to choose. What are you going to be about? You're going to be about love, you're going to be about hate. And
it's that simple.
It's that simple. And it's like, people say, I'm about love, but I hate that person, or that person should be shot, or we should burn them down, or whatever. We were in a conversation with some people a while back, having a conversation about Donald Trump. This was how many years ago?
Maybe a year and a half ago.
And so they were... They were talking about, but he talks so weird. His lips move weird when he talks. And so there was so much criticism going on from people in this conversation. He said, we should just shoot him. And they said, no.
No, I said we should just kill him.
Oh, we just kill him, right. And they were like, no. We're loving. But he's still freaking.
And it's all about, there's so much hate.
There's so much hate.
It's not about Donald Trump.
No.
It has nothing to do with him.
No.
All of this that's coming up has nothing to do with Donald Trump. It has to do with, are you free?
Yeah.
Are you a thinker? Do you think for yourself? Do you call the shots in your own life, or does somebody else call them for you?
And most people want somebody else to tell them what to think and not to think, because, like you said, you used to be lazy. We're lazy and we're fearful. We don't trust ourselves. We haven't begun to start to, what do I really think? What do I really care about? What really matters to me? It's more like, I want to belong. I'm afraid. I want to feel secure. And so whoever promises you the most security or answers all your wounds and all your insecurities, that's the person who we tend to follow, even if they're leading you down a shithole.
That's exactly right. And that's where it usually ends up. So
yep.
So this is another I'd say wake up call.
Yeah.
It's time to wake up and think for ourselves.
Yeah.
It's time, like if you profess to be a loving being, let's start loving.
Yeah.
The hate.
For real.
I mean, come on, the hate. Is that what you really want to be about? Hate? Let's be about love. I mean, that's what's really needed here right now. And by the way, there's the roll call's happening, like you were saying. The line has been drawn in the sand, not by me. I think by Creator. I think the Creator of all things has drawn the line in the sand here for human beings, saying, this belongs to me.
Yeah.
And it's about love.
Yeah.
And where do you stand? Are you gonna be a part of love, or are you gonna be a part of hate? It's that simple.
Yeah. So I guess that's basically all we need to cover right now.
Yep.
I think we wanted to bring out this one matter about thinking. And when you sit down and you turn on the TV, you just turn off your conscious mind and you just like follow and just mindlessly go along with whatever they say. Oh yeah, it's like it turns us into vegetables. So it's so vital to start taking personal responsibility for our own worlds, our own consciousness, and what we think and what we feel. What is our perception? What is your perception? What do you really feel and see about something, rather than don't turn on the TV asking somebody else to tell you what it is. What do you really think?
That's
what do you really feel? So,
and if you're honest, you might think,
I'm not sure.
I really don't know.
Yeah. So it's scary, because all of a sudden you find out you want to talk about some scary stuff when you find out how much we've been manipulated and how much groupthink there is that's been controlled through the media, because it's a deliberate thing through all the media. It's all controlled by the same people, and they're conditioning and controlling what the narrative is and what we're supposed to think.
So a question comes up, and you're probably saying, so who's controlling it? Well, at this point, as far as human beings go, and my understanding of it, it's the CIA.
Yeah, yeah.
The CIA, shadow government, who's really been calling the shots for quite some time.
And behind that is just pure darkness.
And pure darkness is really behind all of that.
Yeah. So there.
But it's all coming to an end.
It's all coming to an end. So that's why we're bringing this topic up, because we're not telling you what to think. We're actually saying think for yourself. Start thinking for yourself. Have I gotten to the ultimate pinnacle of the mountain, or the top of the mountain, and I see all and know all? No. And I hope to God that I never stop learning and growing and seeing new things and having new perspectives. So is it comfortable? No. Is it fulfilling? Yes. And
will you lose friends? Yes.
Yes, you will.
Yeah.
But they're not friends.
But they're not friends. If you lose them, they're not real friends.
Yeah. So stay in love.
Yep.
Let love be the thing that characterizes your life and your expression, and then you will find out who your real friends are and who your real family is, and your world will be built on that basis. There was a point when let love. Somebody said this. Maybe it was us.
Oh.
I'm going to say it right now. Let love build your house. Let love build your world. Let it be built by love, and by you actually being an embodiment and an expression of love.
Yep.
And then the world changes. All right. Love and blessings to all of you.
Yep. Love and blessings to you.
If you want to make any comments, please feel free to do so. If you feel this message is valid and important for others to know, well, then pass it on to them
know,
too. Yeah. So this is our message to the world, to whomever wants to receive it
or not.
And
we'll see you again sometime.
we'll see you again. Who knows? It might be sooner than later.
And maybe we'll be able to continue to step on your toes. I want my toes stepped on. Keeps you awake.
Yeah. Ciao.
Bye.